The massive orbital defense platform hung in space like a metal moon around Zephyrian Prime. Inside its command center, thousands of alien technicians worked at their stations. The blue-skinned Zephyrians had controlled this part of the galaxy for over 2,000 years. Their home system was the most protected place in known space. Sensor technician Killmoth stared at his screen with confusion. A small blip appeared on his gravitational sensors, then disappeared. He rubbed his large black eyes and looked again. The reading was still there, but it made no sense. The object was too small to be a ship, too big to be space debris, and it was moving with purpose. Senior operator, Killmoth called to his supervisor. "I have an unusual reading in Sector 7. Senior operator Yithmar walked over with slow, measured steps. The older Zephyrian had seen many sensor glitches in his long career. "What kind of reading?" "Gravitational anomaly. Small mass signature. Approximately 50,000 kilometers from the homeworld. But look at this movement pattern." Killmoth pointed at his screen. "It's not following any natural trajectory." Yithmar studied the data. In Zephyrian military doctrine, everything followed predictable patterns. Ships moved in straight lines between jump points. Asteroids followed orbital mechanics. This object seemed to drift randomly, yet there was something deliberate about its path. "Run a full spectrum analysis," Yithmar ordered. "Check for engine signatures, hull composition, anything." The scans came back empty. No energy readings, no metal signatures, no signs of propulsion. Yet the gravitational anomaly continued to move deeper into the system. Admiral Vexthar stood on the command platform overlooking the sensor floor. The tall Zephyrian wore the dark purple uniform of the Imperial Navy, with golden insignia marking his high rank. He had commanded the home fleet for 30 years without a single security breach. The Zephyrian Empire's capital system was supposed to be impenetrable. "Admiral," Senior Operator Yithmar approached with obvious nervousness. "We have detected an unidentified object in the inner system." Vexithar's expression remained calm. "Show me." The main display screen lit up with sensor data. The gravitational anomaly appeared as a small red dot, moving between the 4th and 5th planets. Its path seemed random, but it was definitely heading toward the inner system. "Sensor malfunction?" Vexthar asked. "We have run full diagnostics 3 times. All systems are working perfectly." Admiral Vexthar studied the readings with growing concern. In 2 millennia of Imperial history, nothing had ever penetrated this far into Zephyrian space without being detected much earlier. Their sensor network extended 50 light-years in every direction. Size estimate? Approximately 200 meters in length based on gravitational displacement. The Admiral's blue skin grew slightly pale. A 200-meter object could be a warship, but no known technology could hide a ship so completely from their sensors. The Zephyrians had studied every spacefaring species in the galaxy. None possessed stealth capabilities beyond their own detection systems. Meanwhile, 50,000 kilometers away, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Wraith. The human warship was unlike anything in the known galaxy. Its hull was made of materials that bent light and absorbed sensor waves. Advanced gravitational dampeners reduced its mass signature to almost nothing. "Captain," Lieutenant Amy Richardson called from the tactical station. "They've detected us." Jake Morrison was a veteran of Earth's space forces. At 42 years old, he had spent most of his career preparing for this moment. First contact with an alien empire. The mission was supposed to be purely observational. Study the Zephyrians from a safe distance, then report back to Earth Command. "How can you tell?" Morrison asked. "Their sensor arrays are focusing on our position. Active scans are increasing in frequency." Morrison looked at the main screen showing Zephyrian Prime. The blue-green planet was beautiful, with 3 small moons and massive orbital installations. Intelligence reports had described the Zephyrian Empire as advanced but rigid in their thinking. They followed strict military protocols and had never encountered an enemy they couldn't defeat through superior numbers and firepower. "Options, Lieutenant?" Amy Richardson was one of Earth's best tactical officers. She had studied alien military doctrines for years, preparing for this mission. "We could retreat beyond their sensor range, but they'll know something was here. Or we could continue the mission and hope they assume we're a natural phenomenon." "Sir," Communications Specialist Sam Bradley interrupted from his station. "I'm picking up increased chatter from their command stations. They're definitely concerned about something." Captain Morrison made his decision. The mission was too important to abort now. Earth needed to know everything about the Zephyrian Empire before making official contact. Maintain course but reduce speed. Make our movement pattern more random. Back on the Zephyrian command platform, Admiral Vexthar watched the mysterious object with growing alarm. It had changed course twice in the past hour, each time moving closer to the inner planets. The gravitational readings were consistent with a ship, but no ship in the galaxy could hide so completely from their sensors. Contact Intelligence Command, he ordered. I want every database searched for this type of stealth technology. Also, alert the patrol fleets. If this is a ship, it might not be alone. Intelligence Chief Morden arrived within minutes. The older Zephyrian had access to military secrets from across the galaxy. His pale blue skin and silver eyes marked him as one of the intellectual caste, bred for analysis and strategic thinking. Admiral, our databases show no record of this stealth capability, Morden reported. We have studied every known species. None possess technology this advanced. Then we are dealing with an unknown species? That appears to be the only logical conclusion. Admiral Vexthar felt a chill run through his body. The Zephyrian Empire had not encountered a new spacefaring species in over 500 years. Their military doctrine assumed complete knowledge of all potential enemies. An unknown species with superior stealth technology was their worst nightmare scenario. Increase sensor power to maximum, he commanded. Activate all defensive systems, and send a priority message to the Emperor. We may have a first contact situation. On the USS Wraith, Captain Morrison watched the Zephyrian response with professional interest. Their defensive platforms were powering up weapon systems. Patrol ships were changing course to investigate their area. The aliens were clearly preparing for a potential threat. Captain, Amy Richardson said quietly, should we attempt communication? Let them know we're peaceful? Morrison considered the options. Earth's first contact protocols called for careful observation before making any direct contact. But the situation was escalating rapidly. The Zephyrians were treating them as a potential invasion force. Not yet. We need to understand their capabilities first. How long until we reach optimal observation distance? 6 hours at current speed. The tension on both ships continued to build as the USS Wraith drifted deeper into Zephyrian space, carrying with it the seeds of a confrontation that would change galactic history forever. Emperor Zalthus received the emergency message in his private chambers on Zephyrian Prime. The golden palace walls reflected his worried expression as he read Admiral Vexthar's report. In his 60 years of rule, no unknown threat had ever penetrated this deep into Imperial space. The Emperor was a tall Zephyrian with deep blue skin marked by silver patterns that showed his royal bloodline. His large black eyes held the wisdom of generations, but now they showed something rarely seen: uncertainty. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered every species they encountered through superior technology and overwhelming force. An unknown enemy with advanced stealth capabilities was beyond their experience. Summon the War Council, he commanded his aide. Emergency session. All senior commanders and intelligence chiefs must attend. Within the hour, the Emperor's war room filled with the Empire's top military minds. Admiral Vexthar joined the meeting through holographic projection from the orbital defense platform. His image flickered slightly, showing the strain on communication systems as all sensors focused on the mysterious intruder. Intelligence. Chief Morden stood before a massive display showing the gravitational anomalies path through their system. The object had continued moving toward the inner planets, ignoring all attempts at communication. Its course suggested it was studying their defensive positions. Your Majesty, Morden began, we have analyzed every database across our empire. No known species possesses stealth technology capable of avoiding our sensors so completely. We must assume this represents first contact with an unknown civilization. Emperor Zalthus studied the tactical display. The object appeared to be conducting a systematic survey of their home system, moving from planet to planet in a pattern that suggested intelligence gathering. Size estimate? Approximately 200 meters. Large enough to be a warship, small enough to be a scout vessel. Weapons capabilities? Unknown. We detect no energy signatures, no weapons ports, no shield generators, but this could be part of their stealth technology. The Emperor's silver-marked face grew darker. The Zephyrian Empire had survived for 2 millennia by never underestimating potential enemies. A scout ship this deep in their territory suggested a larger force might be preparing for invasion. Meanwhile, Aboard the USS Wraith, Captain Morrison studied the increasing activity throughout the Zephyrian system. Their ship's advanced sensors showed patrol fleets converging on their position, defense platforms charging weapons, and communication traffic reaching emergency levels. Commander Lisa Torres, his first officer, approached with concern in her eyes. The experienced officer had served with Morrison for 5 years, including missions to survey other alien civilizations. But none of those species had shown the level of military sophistication they were observing here. Captain, they're treating us as a hostile force. Every ship in the system is moving to combat positions. Morrison nodded grimly. Earth's intelligence about the Zephyrian Empire had focused on their territorial expansion and military strength. What they hadn't fully understood was how paranoid the Empire had become after centuries of unchallenged dominance. Any unknown threat triggered maximum military response. Lieutenant Bradley, Morrison called to his communications officer.
Can you break through their encryption?
Sam Bradley had studied alien communication protocols for years, preparing for first contact scenarios. The Zephyrian language was complex, with multiple layers of meaning based on social caste and military rank. I'm getting fragments, sir. They're definitely discussing us as a potential invasion force. Terms like unknown enemy and system infiltration keep appearing. Dr. Alex Turner, the mission's chief scientist, looked up from his analysis station. The middle-aged researcher had spent his career studying alien psychology and social structures. Captain, based on their response pattern, I believe we've triggered their worst-case scenario protocols. They've never encountered anything they couldn't identify and categorize. Morrison made a difficult decision. The mission parameters called for passive observation, but the situation was escalating beyond their control. If the Zephyrians attacked, the USS Wraith would have to defend itself, potentially starting a war between Earth and a galactic empire. Open a communication channel, he ordered. All frequencies. Let's see if we can calm this situation down. Back in the Emperor's war chamber, the first alien transmission in Zephyrian history crackled through the speakers. The voice was speaking in accented but understandable Zephyrian, using formal diplomatic language protocols. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the starship USS Wraith, representing the United Earth Federation. We come in peace, seeking dialogue between our peoples. Please respond. The war room fell silent. Emperor Zalthus stared at the speakers as if they had delivered an impossible message. First contact with an unknown species was one thing, but aliens who had learned their language suggested long-term observation and intelligence gathering. How do they know our language? War Minister Velquan demanded. The elderly Zephyrian had commanded fleets for 40 years, crushing rebellion after rebellion. His military mind immediately focused on the security implications. Intelligence Chief Mordun was already running analysis on the transmission. The accent suggests they learned from recorded communications, not direct contact. They've been observing us for some time. Emperor Zalthus felt the weight of history pressing down on him. Every decision he made in the next few minutes could determine the fate of his empire. Can we trust them? Your Majesty, Admiral Vexthar's voice came through the hologram. Their ship is alone in our most heavily defended system. If they intended attack, surely they would have brought a fleet. This could be a genuine peace mission, or advance reconnaissance for a larger invasion force, War Minister Velquan countered. We should capture or destroy them before they can report back. On the USS Wraith, Captain Morrison waited for a response to his peace overture. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of advanced systems and the occasional beep from sensor stations. Every crew member understood that the next few minutes could determine whether Earth's first contact with a galactic empire led to friendship or war. Captain, Amy Richardson called from Tactical. I'm detecting weapons locks from multiple sources. At least 12 ships have us targeted. Sir? Sam Bradley added. Their communication traffic is increasing. I'm picking up terms that translate to capture and interrogation. Commander Torres moved closer to Morrison's command chair. Orders, sir? Morrison studied the tactical display showing Zephyrian forces surrounding their position. The USS Wraith was fast and well-armed, but they were outnumbered 50-1. Running wasn't an option. The aliens would interpret it as proof of hostile intent. Fighting would start a war Earth wasn't ready for. We wait, he decided. If they want to talk, we'll talk. If they want to fight, we'll show them what humans can do. The standoff continued as two civilizations faced each other across the void of space. Neither fully understood the other, but both recognized they were at a turning point in galactic history. The Zephyrian Empire's age of unchallenged dominance was about to face its greatest test, while humanity prepared to announce its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Emperor Zalthus finally made his decision. Open a channel. We will speak with these humans. The first conversation between humans and the Zephyrian Empire lasted exactly 17 minutes before everything went wrong. Captain Morrison had tried to explain Earth's peaceful intentions, but the Empire's response was predictably rigid. They demanded the USS Wraith surrender for processing and cultural evaluation, terms that sounded uncomfortably like imprisonment. To the human crew, Fleet Admiral Cathvar commanded the Zephyrian response fleet from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The massive warship was 3 kilometers long and bristled with weapons that could destroy planets. Around it, 50 other vessels formed a perfect spherical formation around the human ship. In Zephyrian military doctrine, this was called the Sphere of Inevitability, a formation that made escape impossible. Cathvar was a career military officer who had crushed 7 rebellions and conquered 4 star systems. His silver-blue skin bore ritual scars marking his victories, and his black eyes held the cold calculation of a professional warrior. He had studied every known form of space combat, and he was confident that one small alien ship posed no real threat. Alien vessel. His voice boomed across communication channels. You are surrounded by the Imperial fleet. Surrender now and you will be treated according to galactic conventions. On the USS Wraith, Captain Morrison studied the formation surrounding his ship. The Zephyrian vessels were impressive, larger and more heavily armed than anything in Earth's fleet. But they were positioned exactly as Earth's military analysts had predicted, based on captured tactical manuals from border conflicts. The aliens followed their doctrine perfectly, which made them predictable. Sir, Commander Torres whispered, they're not leaving us much choice. Morrison looked around his bridge. His crew was young by military standards, most in their 20s and 30s. They represented a new generation of Earth's military, trained in asymmetric warfare and unconventional tactics. Unlike the rigid Zephyrian system, human military doctrine emphasized adaptability and creative problem-solving. Lieutenant Richardson, Morrison called to his tactical officer. Analysis? Amy Richardson had been studying the Zephyrian formation with the intensity of a chess master examining a complex position. At 28, she was one of Earth's most promising tactical minds, specializing in scenarios where humans face superior numbers and technology. Their formation is textbook perfect, sir. Complete coverage, overlapping fields of fire, no apparent weaknesses, but it's also completely predictable. They've positioned their ships exactly where our war game suggested they would. Recommendations? We use human tactics, sir. Make them react to us instead of following their plan. Morrison nodded. In human military history, smaller forces had defeated larger ones countless times through mobility, unpredictability, and willingness to break conventional rules. The Zephyrians were about to discover that humans didn't fight fair. All hands, this is the captain. We're about to show our new neighbors what humans can do. Richardson, execute pattern Charlie. The USS Wraith suddenly disappeared from Zephyrian sensors as its advanced stealth systems engaged fully. For 3 seconds, the human ship was completely invisible. Then it reappeared directly behind the Zephyrian flagship, having somehow moved through their defensive formation without being detected. Fleet Admiral Cathvar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The human ship had been surrounded by 50 warships, each with overlapping sensor coverage. It should have been impossible to move without being tracked. Yet somehow the alien vessel had repositioned itself in a blind spot behind his flagship. How did they do that? Demanded Tactical Officer Yindar. The young Zephyrian had studied every known form of space combat, and what he had just witnessed violated basic laws of physics and military science. Unknown technology, Cathvar replied grimly. All ships new formation. Tighten the sphere. But as the Zephyrian ships began to move, the human vessel vanished again. This time it reappeared at the formation's edge, launching a spread of missiles at the closest Zephyrian ship. The missiles weren't designed to destroy, they were sensor decoys that created dozens of false targets on Zephyrian screens. Chaos erupted through the Imperial formation as ship captains tried to identify real threats among the decoys. Some opened fire on phantom targets while others held their weapons, unsure what was real. The perfect sphere began to break apart as ships maneuvered to avoid imaginary missiles. Dr. Alex Turner watched the battle from the USS Wraith's science station with fascination. The Zephyrians were clearly more advanced technologically, but they were completely unprepared for human tactical thinking. Their military doctrine assumed that superior numbers and firepower would always win battles. "Captain," Turner called, "their formation is completely breaking down. They can't adapt to unpredictable tactics." Morrison smiled grimly. Human military history was filled with examples of creative tactics defeating superior forces. From ancient Earth battles to modern space warfare, the principle remained the same. Make the enemy fight on your terms, not theirs. Richardson, execute pattern Delta. The USS Wraith began a series of rapid micro-jumps, appearing and disappearing throughout the Zephyrian formation. Each time it materialized, the ship launched non-lethal attacks designed to confuse and disrupt rather than destroy. Sensor jammers clouded Zephyrian targeting systems. Electronic warfare packages disabled communication arrays. Gravity mines disrupted their formation flying. Sergeant Maria Santos watched from the marine compartment as the ship's unconventional battle unfolded. The tough veteran had served in Earth's ground forces before transferring to space duty, and she recognized the tactics being used. It was classic guerrilla warfare adapted to space combat: hit fast, hit hard, then disappear before the enemy could respond. "Just like fighting pirates in the asteroid belt," she muttered to her squad. "Keep moving. Keep them guessing, never let them pin you down." Fleet Admiral Kethvar found himself facing a completely unprecedented situation. In 40 years of military service, he had never encountered an enemy that refused to fight according to established doctrine. The human ship moved like a shadow, striking where least expected and vanishing before his ships could respond. "All vessels fall back to defensive positions around the homeworld," he ordered. The admission stung his pride, but continuing this battle risked losing ships to an enemy he didn't understand. But the humans weren't finished. As the Zephyrian fleet began to withdraw, the USS Wraith appeared directly above the planet's north pole, well inside what should have been an impenetrable defensive zone. Captain Morrison's voice echoed across every communication channel in the system. "This is Captain Morrison. We have demonstrated our ability to move freely through your defenses. We do not wish to fight, but we will not be captured or imprisoned. We propose a meeting between equals to discuss the future of our peoples." Emperor Zalthais watched the tactical display from his palace with a mixture of fear and admiration. The human ship had penetrated his empire's most secure system and outmaneuvered his best fleet commander. They had done so without firing a single lethal shot, showing both capability and restraint. "Your Majesty," Intelligence Chief Mordoon spoke quietly, "we are dealing with a completely new form of warfare. Our doctrine assumes enemies will fight conventionally. These humans use tactics we have never encountered." The Emperor studied the lone human ship hanging in space above his world. It could have attacked the planet's surface, but instead it waited peacefully for a response. These aliens possessed advanced technology and innovative tactics, but they seemed genuinely interested in peace. "Fleet Admiral Kethvar," the Emperor's voice carried across military channels, "cease all hostile actions. We will negotiate with the humans as requested." Captain Morrison felt tension leave his shoulders as Zephyrian weapons powered down throughout the system. The first phase of contact was complete. Earth had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible by proving that human ingenuity could overcome even the mightiest empire's defenses. But as Morrison prepared for the most important diplomatic meeting in human history, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of much larger changes ahead. 3 days after the USS Wraith's demonstration above Zephyrian Prime, emergency signals began flooding Imperial communication networks. Human ships were appearing throughout the Empire's territory, each one employing different tactics that baffled local commanders. The Zephyrian military was discovering that Captain Morrison's vessel was not alone. Captain Nina Clark commanded the USS Thunderbolt, a heavy cruiser that materialized in the Veltaran system without warning. Unlike Morrison's stealth approach, Clark preferred direct confrontation. Her ship emerged from hyperspace in the middle of a Zephyrian patrol formation, and immediately began what human military doctrine called aggressive maneuvering. The Thunderbolt spun and rolled through space like a dancer, firing non-lethal warning shots that passed within meters of Zephyrian hulls. The alien crews watched in amazement as the human ship performed maneuvers that should have killed everyone aboard, from gravitational stress. Yet somehow, the humans not only survived but used their ship's incredible agility as a weapon of psychological warfare. "This is Captain Clark of Earth's Navy." Her voice boomed across Zephyrian communication channels. "We're here to discuss mining rights in this system. Please prepare a delegation for immediate negotiations." Patrol Commander Zixmoth stared at his tactical display in confusion. The human ship was smaller than his flagship but moved with impossible grace. Its weapons were clearly powerful enough to damage his vessels, yet it had fired only warning shots. The aliens seemed to be making a statement rather than starting a battle. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "they're requesting negotiations over mining rights we've controlled for 6 centuries. Should we inform them this system belongs to the Empire?" Before Commander Zixmoth could respond, the human ship began broadcasting detailed geological surveys of every planet and asteroid in the system. The data was more accurate than their own records, suggesting the humans had been studying Zephyrian territory for years. Meanwhile, in the distant Mordak sector, Lieutenant Commander Ben Murphy was having his own form of fun with Zephyrian forces. His ship, the USS Phoenix, had approached a military supply depot using what he called polite intimidation. The vessel announced its presence with proper diplomatic protocols, then proceeded to demonstrate technologies that made the Zephyrian defenders nervous. The Phoenix deployed sensor drones that mapped the entire depot in minutes, projected holographic displays showing detailed schematics of Zephyrian ships, and casually mentioned that human databases contained complete records of Imperial military capabilities, all done with perfect politeness and diplomatic language. "We would be honored to discuss technology exchange between our peoples," Murphy's message concluded. "Perhaps we could share some interesting innovations in stealth technology, gravitational manipulation, and tactical systems." War Minister Velquan received reports from 12 different systems within 6 hours. Human ships were appearing everywhere, each one demonstrating capabilities that challenged basic assumptions about galactic warfare. None had fired lethal shots, but all had made it clear that Earth's military was far more advanced than anyone had imagined. The War Minister called an emergency meeting of the Imperial General Staff. The Golden Chamber, filled with the Empire's most experienced commanders, all bearing the same expression of confused concern. In 2 millennia of expansion, they had never encountered anything like this coordinated display of superior technology. "Analysis," Velquan demanded. Fleet Admiral Kethvar, still smarting from his encounter with the USS Wraith, stood to address the assembly. His ritual scars seemed faded against his troubled blue skin. "We are facing a completely new form of warfare. These humans don't seek to conquer territory or destroy our forces. They're demonstrating superiority while offering negotiation." "How many ships?" asked Admiral Yuxtar, commander of the Second Fleet. "Unknown. Our intelligence estimates at least 15 vessels operating in our territory, but there could be more using stealth technology. Each ship employs different tactics, making pattern analysis impossible." Intelligence Chief Mordun activated a holographic display showing human ship movements across the Empire. Red dots marked confirmed sightings, while orange zones showed probable infiltration routes. The map looked like a disease spreading through Imperial space. "Their strategy appears to be demonstration of capability rather than conquest," Mordun explained. "Each encounter follows the same pattern: unexpected appearance, display of superior technology, offer of negotiation, then withdrawal before we can respond effectively." War Minister Velquan studied the tactical situation with growing alarm. The humans were treating the mighty Zephyrian Empire like a primitive species to be handled carefully. It was both insulting and terrifying. "Recommendations? We have 3 options," Fleet Admiral Kethvar replied. "First, mobilize the entire Imperial Navy for coordinated attacks. Second, attempt to negotiate from our current weakened position. Third, retreat to fortified positions and prepare for siege warfare." "Fourth option," interrupted Admiral Yuxtar. "Learn from them. These humans use tactics we've never seen. Perhaps we should study their methods before deciding how to respond." The suggestion caused murmurs throughout the chamber. Zephyrian military doctrine had remained unchanged for centuries, based on proven principles of overwhelming force and superior technology. The idea of learning from aliens was revolutionary. Back on Earth, Admiral Peter Hayes studied reports from his scattered fleet commanders with satisfaction. The mission was proceeding exactly as planned. Each captain had been given specific objectives designed to demonstrate human capabilities while avoiding unnecessary casualties. The Zephyrians were learning that Earth's military thought in ways they had never encountered. Hayes was a veteran of humanity's expansion into space, having commanded missions to survey dozens of alien civilizations, but none had been as militarily sophisticated as the Zephyrian Empire. This first contact required careful handling. Too aggressive, and Earth would face a galactic war it wasn't ready for. Too passive, and humanity would be dismissed as another minor species. Admiral, his aide approached with the latest intelligence reports. All ships are reporting successful mission completion. The Zephyrians are requesting formal negotiations through diplomatic channels. Hayes nodded with satisfaction. Phase 2 was complete. Earth had demonstrated that human military thinking could challenge even a galactic empire. Now came the harder task, turning military success into lasting diplomatic relationships. On Zephyrian Prime, Emperor Zalthus met with his daughter, Empress Nalthis, to discuss the unprecedented crisis facing their empire. The younger royal had always questioned traditional military doctrine, arguing for innovation and adaptation. Recent events seemed to prove her point. "Father," she said quietly, "we must acknowledge reality. These humans have capabilities we cannot match with current tactics. We can either learn from them or face gradual decline as they demonstrate superiority throughout our territory." The Emperor's silver-marked face showed the weight of difficult decisions. "You suggest we negotiate from a position of weakness? I suggest we negotiate from a position of curiosity. These humans could have destroyed our fleets but chose demonstration over destruction. They seek something other than conquest." Elder Counselor Tim Both, ancient even by Zephyrian standards, spoke from his position at the council table. His pale blue skin was marked with the wisdom scars of age, and his voice carried centuries of experience. "In my long life, I have seen many changes come to our empire. Perhaps it is time for the greatest change of all, learning to share the galaxy rather than ruling it." The words hung in the air like a revolutionary declaration. For 2,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire had been the dominant force in their region of space. The concept of sharing power with another species was almost unthinkable. Yet as reports continued to arrive of human ships demonstrating impossible capabilities throughout imperial space, the alternative was becoming clear: adapt or face obsolescence. Captain Morrison received new orders from Earth. Command while the USS Wraith maintained its position. Above Zephyrian Prime, Admiral Hayes was coming, personally to handle negotiations, bringing with him a full battle group to demonstrate Earth's true military capability. The show of force was about to become something much larger. "Sir," Commander Torres approached with concern in her voice, "are we really prepared for what comes next? Once they see our full strength, there's no going back to being unknown." Morrison studied the blue-green world below his ship, thinking about the changes ahead for both species. "No going back," he agreed. "But maybe that's not such a bad thing. The galaxy's about to become a much more interesting place." Admiral Peter Hayes arrived at Zephyrian Prime with a fleet that changed everything. 27 human warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their sleek hulls reflecting the system's star. Each vessel was different from the others, some built for stealth, others for raw power, and a few designed for purposes the Zephyrians couldn't immediately identify. The human battle group took position at the edge of the system's defense perimeter, close enough to demonstrate their presence but far enough to avoid appearing threatening. It was a masterpiece of diplomatic positioning that showed both strength and restraint. Emperor Zalthus watched the human fleet through the palace's great observation window. Each ship was smaller than his own flagships, yet something about their purposeful arrangement suggested capabilities that numbers alone couldn't measure. His military advisors had spent days analyzing the tactical implications, and their reports were deeply troubling. "Your Majesty," Intelligence Chief Morden approached with the latest analysis, "we estimate the human fleet represents approximately 15% of their total naval strength, based on industrial capacity calculations from their home system. The Emperor's blue skin paled slightly. If this demonstration fleet was only a fraction of Earth's military might, the implications were staggering. Are you certain? Our deep space monitoring stations have detected massive industrial activity in the Sol system for the past 50 years. We initially dismissed it as primitive expansion efforts, but the data now suggests coordinated military buildup on a scale matching our own. Empress Nalthis joined her father at the observation window. The younger royal had been studying human psychology and tactics since first contact, recognizing that traditional Zephyrian approaches wouldn't work with these aliens. They thought differently, fought differently, and seemed to approach diplomacy as another form of warfare. They're not here to conquer us, she observed. If they wanted our territory, they would have attacked while our fleets were scattered responding to their demonstrations. This is about establishing equal status. Her words struck at the heart of Zephyrian assumptions about galactic order. For 2 millennia, the Empire had dealt with other species from a position of unquestionable superiority. The concept of negotiating with equals was revolutionary. Admiral Hayes requested permission to come aboard the orbital station for face-to-face negotiations. The 60-year-old human had commanded Earth's expansion into space for 2 decades, overseeing first contact with 17 different alien species. But none had been as militarily sophisticated as the Zephyrians, and none had controlled territory on such a vast scale. Commander Rachel Stone accompanied Hayes as Earth's senior diplomat. The former university professor had spent years studying alien cultures and psychology, preparing for the moment when humanity would take its place among galactic civilizations. She understood that this negotiation would determine Earth's future for generations. The meeting took place in the station's grand diplomatic chamber, a circular room designed to accommodate dozens of different alien physiologies. Holographic displays showed both fleets maintaining peaceful positions while their leaders talked. The contrast between military readiness and diplomatic courtesy created an atmosphere of controlled tension. Admiral Hayes, Emperor Zalthis, began the formal proceedings. Your species has demonstrated remarkable capabilities. We are prepared to discuss recognition of Earth's sovereignty within your current territory. Hayes smiled politely, recognizing the opening negotiation position. The Zephyrians were offering to acknowledge human control over the Sol system, and perhaps a few nearby stars, essentially treating Earth like any other minor spacefaring civilization. Your Majesty, I appreciate the offer, but Earth's goals are somewhat larger. We seek recognition as a major galactic power, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. The Zephyrian delegation exchanged glances. War Minister Velquan leaned forward with obvious skepticism. Admiral, your species has controlled space travel for less than a century. The Empire has maintained galactic order for 2,000 years. What gives you the right to claim equal status? Commander Stone activated a holographic display showing human expansion over the past 50 years. Red dots marked established colonies, while blue lines showed trade routes and exploration paths. The network extended far beyond what Zephyrian intelligence had detected. Minister, humanity currently controls 47 star systems, with colonies on over 200 worlds. Our industrial capacity exceeds that of any single imperial sector. We've made peaceful contact with 38 different species, many of whom have joined Earth's trading network. Elder Counselor Tim Both studied the human expansion pattern with fascination. Unlike Zephyrian conquest, which followed predictable military lines, human growth seemed almost organic. They established settlements where resources were available, formed alliances with compatible species, and adapted their approach to local conditions. Remarkable, the ancient counselor mused. You build relationships rather than impose control. It's more efficient, Hayes replied. Military conquest requires constant resources to maintain order. Economic and cultural partnerships create mutual benefits that last much longer. The statement challenged fundamental assumptions about galactic governance. Zephyrian doctrine held that order required hierarchy, with stronger species controlling weaker ones. The humans seemed to believe that cooperation between equals was not only possible, but preferable. Captain Morrison, attending as a military advisor, watched the negotiations with professional interest. The USS Wraith's mission had been to gather intelligence about the Zephyrian Empire, but it had become something much more significant: the opening move in humanity's emergence as a galactic power. Captain, Empress Nalthis addressed him directly, Your tactics during our first encounter were unlike anything in our military databases. Where did humans develop such unconventional approaches? Morrison considered his answer carefully. Your Highness, human military doctrine is based on our history. We fought thousands of wars using every conceivable strategy. Our approach emphasizes adaptability over rigid doctrine. But how do you maintain unit cohesion without standardized procedures? We train our officers to think independently while working toward common goals. Every human commander studies the same basic principles, then applies them creatively to specific situations. Fleet Admiral Kethvar found this concept disturbing. Zephyrian military efficiency depended on predictable responses to standard scenarios. Encouraging individual creativity seemed like a recipe for chaos. That sounds like a formula for military disaster, he objected. Lieutenant Amy Richardson, also attending as a technical advisor, spoke up with respect but confidence. Admiral, our tactical flexibility allowed one ship to outmaneuver your entire home fleet. Individual initiative becomes military strength when properly channeled. The discussions continued for hours, covering everything from territorial boundaries to technology exchange. Gradually, both sides began to understand the magnitude of change they were contemplating. The Zephyrian Empire would need to abandon assumptions about galactic hierarchy, while humanity would have to accept responsibilities that came with major power status. Elder Counselor Tim both finally voiced what everyone was thinking. We are discussing the end of the Imperial Age. For 2 millennia, the galaxy has operated under Zephyrian hegemony. You propose a new order based on cooperation between equals. Commander Stone nodded solemnly. Counselor Earth doesn't seek to replace Imperial dominance with human rule. We believe the galaxy is large enough for multiple centers of power working together. And if we refuse these terms? War Minister Velquan asked bluntly. Admiral Hayes's expression remained diplomatic, but his words carried unmistakable meaning. Minister, the galaxy is changing whether we guide that change or not. Humanity will continue expanding and forming alliances. The Empire can be part of that future, or it can try to maintain the past through increasingly expensive military actions. The threat was politely phrased, but clear. Earth had demonstrated the ability to penetrate Imperial defenses at will. A prolonged conflict would drain Zephyrian resources while human influence continued spreading through diplomatic and economic means. Emperor Zelthus made the most important decision in Imperial history. Admiral Hayes, the Empire is prepared to recognize Earth as a co-equal galactic power, with mutual sovereignty over our respective territories and cooperative agreements for areas of mutual interest. The words formally ended 2,000 years of unchallenged Zephyrian dominance. As hands were shaken and documents were signed, both species understood they were witnessing a turning point in galactic civilization. Captain Morrison received orders to continue his exploration mission, but now with official diplomatic status. The USS Wraith would carry word of the new alliance to other species, beginning humanity's formal emergence onto the galactic stage. As the human fleet prepared to depart Zephyrian space, Morrison reflected on how far they had come. A simple reconnaissance mission had become first contact, then military demonstration, and finally diplomatic revolution. The galaxy would never be quite the same. Sir, Commander Torres approached with their new orders. Earth,